Hello, it's another lovely Thursday, and it's your favorite news and current affairs program on TV. It's today's review, and I'm Rayo Sazwa. My name, like I said, is Rayo Sazwa. We've got loads and loads to talk about today, but before we delve into some of the stories and issues all around the world, we would take our feature story segment. Don't go anywhere. I'll be back. Welcome back. I've got Justina in the studio. Hello, Justina.
How are you?
I'm all right. And I've got Fiona.
Hello, Ray.
Good to have both of you today. It's going to be an exciting time, I suppose.
Yes, it will be.
We're starting our conversation today with the car smoking ban that has just come into effect in England and in Wales. Now, according to the report, it says a law banning smoking in vehicles carrying children has come into force in England and in Wales. According to this report, drivers and passengers who break the law could face a penalty fine of up to £50. But police officers are saying that they will take a non-confrontational approach initially. Before we start to talk about this, we're just going to watch a quick short promo on the car banning, car smoking ban. And when we come back quickly, we'll start to talk about this issue. Let's watch.
From the 1st of October 2015, it will be against the law to smoke in a car with children under the age of 18. Both the driver and the smoker could be fined. Second-hand smoke could make us poorly with chest infections, asthma, or even bigger illnesses. 80% of cigarettes smoke is invisible. We breathe more smoke than an adult. Our lungs are small and still growing. It's our life, not just a law.
Okay, we've just seen that lovely promo on car smoking ban. I was just saying that according to the report, drivers and passengers who smoke with children under the age of, from 0 to 18, under 18, in a car, could be fined up to £50. The report also says that this does not apply to e-cigarettes, however. But our bone of contention in this program today is the fact that the police are taking a non-confrontational approach to this. We have seen cases, like this before. For example, in 2007, when smoking in public areas was initially introduced, there was nothing really. It was just more or less like one of those talks. The implementation didn't really come to light. So if the police is saying now that they will take a non-confrontational approach towards this for various reasons, then what are we talking about? Will this work? With this new law, will it really work?
Well, the chairman of the Police Federation, Steve White, he said that it's going to be extremely challenging to actually make this work. And, the reason being is, well, it's difficult to you have to catch them at that moment. But there's you've been hearing about police cuts all over the UK. And when the police are policing, they need to be looking at things, murders, where accidents, where people's lives are actually in danger.
But okay, so like you just said, the police constable, Chief Constable Mick Credon, and even the police chief, they've all said they've got other things doing. They can't be thinking about burglaries, thinking about more serious crimes, and at the same time chasing people who have minors in their cars whilst they smoke. But we know clearly that more than 430,000 children are exposed to, you know, secondhand smoke in cars. And, you know, the effect, the side effect of passive smoking cannot be underestimated. So we cannot be looking at this and saying, well, smoking in a car is not really a crime, it's a health and safety issue. But at the same time, we're endangering, you know, the lives of young people. So this is something that I understand that they're police courts, but it's a serious matter as well. And I think the police, I mean, our law enforcement agency should be doing better than saying they can't really, you know, push on this right now because they've got other things. You know, I think this is as bad as a burglary. This is as bad as, you know, serious accidents or other things that they think they ought to be paying attention to. Because if you are endangering the lives of 430 children annually, at the end of the day, we're going to be putting pressure on NHS. I don't know if you get my point. So I think to a large extent, this is more serious than some people are, you know, are making it look.
This is also, though, this is a social issue. You know, there used to be that people would drive with their mobile phones. Now we know that people driving with their mobile phones could get into an accident and kill themselves or kill somebody else. And, you know, now it's more taboo and it's more of a social norm where actually people don't do that because they know that it's not right. And smoking, for whatever reason, it's been around for, you know, decades, centuries really, and it seems to be this more socially accepted thing, and people just do it whenever they want to. And so, you know, there needs to be a lot in society that changes that mindset of people smoking. And you know, what's the difference of them smoking in the car or at home? You know, it's like, well, I think these laws are great and these bans are great, but you know, there needs to be a more societal, you know, for people not to be doing it, needs to be more of a social issue as well.
So in other words, Fiona, how do you think we can help to get, you know, some of these things implemented? Because I think it's an issue really of implementation.
Yeah, that's correct. Smoking and the dangers of smoking cannot be underemphasized because it's a real issue. It's affecting vulnerable children especially, and research has shown that 4,000 chemicals are released in the air when one is smoking. And also, research also indicates that 300,000 children in the UK visit the GP because of the dangers of smoking and the exposure to cigarettes. Now, it could cause issues like asthma and pneumonia. Now, if people understand the dangers and how this affects especially little children, it can be one of the reasons, one of the things that will be emphasized to people who are smoking, especially in enclosed areas like in cars, which is why if we really do have the help of the police in this situation, it would make a great deal of difference. But I do understand the police are focusing on other matters that concern road safety, but this is health and safety, and it's the responsibility of both the smoker, the general public, the health agencies, the UK government to emphasize the dangers of smoking and how this could affect especially young children.
So individuals more or less should be taking responsibility and ensuring that if you've got a child, you know, under 18, a young person from 0 to under 18 in your car, take responsibility and do not smoke.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, we'll move on quickly. We're looking at a story that's actually trending. It says US accuses Russia of throwing gasoline on fire of civilian civil war. Now, according to the report, Washington has accused Moscow of throwing gasoline on the fire of the Syrian civil war, rejecting Russia's claim that its first airstrike in the war-torn country has targeted Islamic State terrorists. In a dramatic escalation of the conflict in Syria, Russia has launched a series of airstrikes, starting from just yesterday, that it said were aimed at ISIS terrorists, but which mainly appear to hit less extreme groups fighting Bashar al-Assad's regime. Well, that's what Washington is saying, that these airstrikes are targeted differently as opposed to what, President Putin has said he will do. Now, we're just going to watch a short clip by President Putin just after he actually announced his involvement with fighting ISIS in Syria. Let's watch the clip, and when we come back, we will talk about the reasons why all of a sudden, I mean, this has been going on for years. Why is Russia just stepping in now? When we come back, we'll talk about that. Let's watch the clip.
Единственно верный путь борьбы с международным терроризмом, а в Сирии и на территории соседних стран с ней бесчинствуют именно банды международных террористов, это действовать на упреждение, бороться и уничтожать боевиков и террористов на уже захваченных ими территориях, не ждать, когда они придут в наш дом. Мы считаем возможным и целесообразным объединить усилия всех заинтересованных государств в борьбе с международным терроризмом и строить совместную работу, опираясь на устав ООН. Предлагаю на первом этапе заинтересованным государствам и прежде всего странам региона подключиться к деятельности Международного информационного, а далее координационного центра в Багдаде. Все наши партнеры о планах и действиях России на сирийском направлении проинформированы. Вновь повторю, участие России в антитеррористической операции в Сирии осуществляется на основе международного права, в соответствии с официальным обращением к нам президента Сирийской Арабской Республики.
Okay, Justina, like I said, we were just wondering, how come, why has Russia decided to move just about now?
Well, ISIS holds more than 50% of Syria, and they're actually, they've been advancing towards a strategically linked highway, which is Damascus. And so those forces, Assad's forces were only 22 miles from that highway, and President Assad's army actually was retreating after 4 years. They've obviously had a lot of war, a lot of deaths, and so Russia's key aim is to prevent that collapse. So the U.S. is not bombing ISIS in Syria in areas that the jihadist group is fighting, the Syrian army. So basically Russia has decided to move, now following Mr. Putin, President Putin, to reach an agreement with the U.S. and the UN.
Fiona, quickly, I don't know if you could, shed a bit more light on, or your thought really. What do you think is Russia's plan? Do you think the plan, President Putin is looking to defeat ISIS, or is he trying to save Assad?
Well, you see, the thing is, the priority is to defeat ISIS and then save the Assad regime. That's President Putin's own agenda. And if we could say there's very much a civil war between, the committed supporters on either side. And in the short term, Russia wants to stop ISIS and, if possible, defeat it, because they're a terrorist group and they just need to go away.
Okay, that's, a good thought, I think. Justina, is this a proxy war, in your opinion, between, Russia and the USA?
No, they are both on the same side against ISIS and Al-Qaeda clones. Yeah, they are wholly divided. However, it's never that simple. So they are divided on how the power should be shared post ISIS in Syria, and so that's where there's actually a rivalry.
So you don't think they are, at loggerheads, they're not at war, they're on the same side, fighting the same cause?
Well, this is whenever Putin, you never quite know what the agenda is going on there. But
I mean, seemingly, you don't think that's what it is right now. You think they're on the same side, trying to fight for the same cause. Okay, just finally, Fiona, how do you think, President Obama might respond to Putin's, initial move?
Now, the thing is, the American government, they're heavily involved with this war and this civil war going on. And President Obama has a vacuum of policy in Syria. It will be very difficult for him to have an influence in the situation right now. The Russians have filled that vacuum, but they have a very uncertain long-term goals. So we'll see how this pans out in the end.
Amazing. Honestly, we've seen loads of people suffer from this war in Syria. We've seen babies, we've seen children, we've seen mothers, just suffer endlessly. We hope that whatever the, powers of the world, Russia, the USA, Germany, Great Britain, whatever support or help they've decided to give, hope at the end of the day, it just brings some hope to the people of Syria, because the civil war has gone on for quite, a long time now, and it needs to stop.
Yes.
We're moving on. We're going to talk about something, a bit more, related to us back here in the UK. The article says why the UK should adopt Sweden's 6-hour workday. Now, in Sweden, more and more business owners are cutting down on working hours, because they feel that, research more or less has shown that the less hours you put into work, the more productive, a person would be. So it is not in the length of time that you work, but really you produce more. You can actually achieve better if you work less hours. Now, the question is, could that work, in the UK? It is working in Sweden. Research has shown that the fewer hours people do, the more productive they are. Will this work in the UK, Fiona?
Well, the thing is, the UK is the second country in the EU that works the longest hours. Now, the average, according to 2015 ONS report, is the UK works an average of 37 hours per week. Now, in the past, that used to be close to 42.9 hours a week. And productivity is still lower compared to the average, compared to the norm. But Sweden works, they work the shortest hours and they are highly productive. Now, research shows that working shorter hours makes people to be more productive. It's good for their health and well-being. It also reduces family strain. So now everybody's happy, the country is prospering, and the economy is growing. But if that is applied or implemented here in the UK, it will be very beneficial for the economy here as well, and for the well-being of the people.
So you think it's something that we should be looking to adopt here in the UK?
Absolutely.
Instead of working 8-9 hours, we should be working 5-6 hours.
It causes a lot of strain, a lot of ill health, and in the long run, the life expectancy is reduced.
Amazing. I hope the people who can, effect these changes are listening and looking, because at the end of the day, we want, a better economy. We want productivity. We want improved staff well-being, and we want standard of living to improve. So if reduced working hours would achieve, this for the country, then it's something worth looking at.
Yes.
Okay, quickly we would move on. We are going to be looking at some trending issues with, our young people, especially now that schools have just reopened. It is October 1st, and most children already, they've been back in classrooms for weeks now. So quickly, we will be discussing some of the controversial issues that have been coming up in schools all over the UK. We are going to start with something that, a topic really that came up last week. A mom actually blasted, a school for, confiscating an e-cigarette that a 14-year-old actually brought to school. Before we start to talk about some of this, when I actually read it, I was a bit surprised. In the first place, a 14-year-old already so addicted to smoking, that's a huge concern. But before we even start talking about this, Justina, I would like for us to watch a short clip of the mother who complained bitterly about the school confiscating the e-cigarette. Let's watch this clip.
And smoked. We went to quite a few extremes. We tried patches, gum, inhalators, various other stop smoking things, which didn't work at all. We had a discussion. My older son had quit using an e-cig, and he said how fantastic it was. We researched it, and it seemed to be a better alternative than cigarettes. Since school was constantly ringing us and complaining that Mason had been caught smoking cigarettes on school premises, we thought it was the lesser of two evils, so we went ahead and we got him an e-cig. It's worked fantastic. All summer he didn't have one cigarette. Really pleased with himself, I was pleased with him. And then he's gone back to school and he was told that he can smoke it as long as he's not around other children. So he's gone into a toilet so nobody else could see him smoke it, and then got it confiscated off him. He came home that evening in an absolute state. He was angry, upset, confused. He just wanted the nicotine. Don't get me wrong, I'd rather he didn't smoke anything at all, and I understand school do not want children walking around smoking e-cigs. That is not what I'm asking for. What I was asking for was a little bit of understanding and maybe a place set aside that, yeah, he's got to go all day without it, but if there was a situation where he desperately needed and was thinking of going buying a cigarette on school premises, that he could go and just have a couple of puffs on it, which would see him through the rest of the day. But that was flatly denied, which has led to him going to school, and apparently he's using his dinner money to buy cigarettes in school. I'm sorry, but school's argument back is that they're a healthy school. Try stopping the pupils that are selling cigarettes to other children then, rather than stopping somebody who has gone the full 6 weeks without a cigarette, coming back to school and buying.
Okay, Justina, talk to me about this, you know, this story of this 14-year-old. Yeah. What's going on here? Why should we even see a thing like this?
I know, it's when you hear something like that, so like we saw in the video, this mother from Bolton, she's absolutely furious with the school because they confiscated his e-cigarette, because she said that he actually needs that e-cigarette to kick the habit of smoking, and that they're actually putting him in like more danger because if he goes back to regular cigarettes, he could then get cancer. It's shocking, the sort of rationale of it all.
At 14, it's a bit shocking to be discussing, you know, someone kicking a smoking habit. How did we get there?
Well, and that's the thing though, is she said that he's been smoking for 2 years, so now that puts him at age 12. And that he started smoking after his dad passed away. Now, obviously, he was going through some really traumatizing, you know, events in his life, and that's really hard to go through. But he was 12 years old, and he was smoking 10 packs a day. So, I mean, smoking is not cheap, is it? It's a smoking cost, it's about £8 a pack. So think about that. It's like £8 a pack times £8 a pack times 10 packs a day. That's £80 a day. So when you think, we start doing the math,
where's he getting the money to?
That's almost 25.
To feed that habit.
It's almost £2,500 a month. Like, that is a staggering amount to be spending on something like that. And obviously the mother's been enabling him because he's not even old enough to have a job. You know?
He's 14,
yeah.
Which is a concern. So in other words, it looks like the mother has actually enabled this addiction.
Yeah. She's definitely, she's enabled it, and she keeps blaming everybody else, because now her they got him an e-cigarette to sort of start weaning him off of the actual cigarettes. But now she's really angry at the school for taking away those e-cigarettes. And actually, you know, I've heard as well that she's a smoker herself. And it's like, you can't just do as I say, not as I do. Like, it's a really difficult way to parent. And you know, if they were sort of in it together and trying to quit together. I know she said that they've tried a lot of different things, but people do, it's a really difficult thing, but they do kick the habit. You know, it is possible. And so she can't keep blaming other people for the situation.
So with this sort of situation, I mean, clearly, like you said, the mom blames everyone else, but herself and, you know, the child. The school should have understood that the boy is struggling with an addiction, and this is one way that he could stop smoking. She's also blaming the shops, because now that the e-cigarette has been confiscated, the boy uses his lunch money to buy cigarettes outside of school. She's blaming the people who sell the cigarettes to him. No fault of hers, no fault of her son. How do you deal? I mean, what's your advice? Because sometimes people don't know how else to deal with an issue. So maybe that's why. So is there some way that you could encourage someone going through, you know, something like this? What's the best solution?
Well, the best solution would be different for every individual situation. But I mean, in this situation, it's like the school can't set a precedence and just let him do that. And the, you know, mother needs to stop blaming everybody else, start owning up to her responsibility in the situation. You know, there's a lot of, I know she said that they've tried a lot of different therapies, but there are cognitive behavioral therapies that do work for people. I mean, he's still young. His you know, he doesn't have an adult brain yet, and you know, he should probably seek some intensive counseling, because he still needs to deal with the issues of his dad's death. Like, that cigarette's not going to make that go away. Answer. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for, you know, sharing. Quickly, before we go, we've just got little or no time left. It is October 1st, and it's Nigeria's 55th celebration of independence. And as it's customary with the Believers Love World Nation, aka Christ Embassy, they would always take, you know, advantage of, you know, the Oktoberfest celebration to bless the nation of Nigeria. Quickly, we're going to watch a short clip of what is going on in Nigeria today. Let's see that clip.
It's that time of the year.
Wow, beautiful, very colorful. You know, like I said, it's customary with the Believers Love World Nation. They would always bless the country Nigeria with the rhapsody of realities when it is something like this. Fiona, one final word just before we go regarding the Reach Out campaign in Nigeria.
Well, from the UK, we're wishing Nigeria happy independence, and the Christ Embassy, the Believers Love World Incorporated, they always try to impact the society and impact the world. This year in Nigeria, they're doing 30 million copies of Rhapsody of Reality, distributing to all 36 states in Nigeria. And you know, that's 4.5 billion naira. And that's about 1.4 million pounds here in the UK. Last year they did 20 million copies, and this year they're surpassing that. So it's amazing how much impact we're having and we're making this year.
Thank you so much. God bless Christ Embassy for the great work that they do all over the world. Well, that rounds up for, you know, rounds up the program for today. Thank you so much, you know, for coming on the program. Until same time, we would say enjoy an amazing weekend, and goodbye from all of us. Bye now.